Hanuman Chaudhary ji and our MLC Ramchandra Rao. I should say Ramchandra Rao first and then Hanuman, no? I am very pleased to be here, this great city of Hyderabad, and talk to you on a subject which is of great importance to build our self-confidence for the future. We must realize, as broadly Hanuman Chaudhary ji indicated, that we were the most developed country for centuries. Of course, he quoted Angus Madison, but there's much greater literature which has been recording this fact from a long time. The Chinese Buddhists came to India almost 2,000 years ago. And they came here to collect Sanskrit documents on Buddhism. But they wrote about their stay in India. And it was, once you read it, it becomes extremely difficult to wonder why we are in the position we are today. And by knowing our past, we can get confidence we can do it again. India was the most developed country till about the 18th century. And then there was a decline from 1192 when Muhammad Ghori was crowned the Badshah in Delhi. And that decline was sharply accelerated during the British period. And then our ideological mistakes after independence till the government of both Mr. Chandrasekhar, which was short-lived, and the full-term Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, we were by wrong policies growing very slowly and not being in a position to recover. I would say that if you want details on it, my recent book titled Reset has been published. It's now gone on in a very short period of 6 months. It's now in the 6th edition. I've covered all these periods from the British and till the present. And today I can say that if India wanted, India determined, we can become a developed country in the next 10 years. One of the targets set by the Prime Minister is that we should be by 2024 a $5 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy. So one of the officials of the government asked me in a gathering, we had a social gathering, and he met me and he asked me, is it possible that in 5 years we can go from that time it was just re-elected, so we were 2.5, now $2.7 trillion. So he said, is it possible that in 5 years we can reach $5 trillion? I said, yes, it is possible even today. Why 5 years from now? It can be done today. So he said, how? I said, devalue the dollar from 70 rupees per dollar to 35 rupees per dollar. So he was taken aback, and then he realized that mentioning it in dollar terms is meaningless. It's okay for the international comparisons and so on. But let me tell you that if you were to take products produced in India and looked at the price you have to pay for that product and take the same quality products in the United States and see the dollar price you have to pay for that, you get a totally different picture from $70, 70 rupees to $1. Take haircuts, for example. In this hotel, I'm sure that the haircuts are world class, but the price you pay here compared to the dollar price you pay in a similar star hotel in the United States, you'll be surprised. It is only 7, if you were to take the ratio, it is 7 rupees to $1. If you have McDonald's in our country, they give all those hamburgers and so on. You go to America in the McDonald's, you'll find the same hamburger. Or you go to pizza, same pizza. And you will find that the ratio of the price you pay here divided by the ratio, divided by the price you pay in America makes it only $3, 3 rupees a dollar. So why is it $70, 70 rupees per dollar? That is because it has nothing to do with production. That determination is based on your demand and supply for foreign exchange, which is a very small part of the economy. So I would like to start by saying that many of the numbers you see are meaningless. And if you were to say that today and in 2024, the exchange rate between the dollar and India will remain the same at 70 rupees to a dollar, then at the price prevailing today, assuming that is also the price prevailing in 2024, the growth rate required to go from 2.5 to $5 trillion is 14.4% per year. To go from today 2.7 to $5 trillion in 2024 is now 18.9% per year. That is unachievable. So therefore, I would say I would not measure our prosperity in terms of how many $1 trillion is that we should have or will be able to get. I would say that, in my opinion, the government is paying too high a price for a dollar. Instead of $70, it today itself should be 35 and ultimately brought back to the level it was prevailing in 1977, which is 7 rupees to a dollar. And if it is 7 rupees per dollar, we will overtake China without doing any work. So therefore, this whole arithmetic of it is a scientific study based on the estimation of GDP and so on. We were the most developed country till 18th century. Then the British brought us even down faster. Why? Because the British prevented us. Those people who came as invaders before the Britishers in our country looted our treasury. Some of them stayed here and continued to loot. But those who came after as Britishers, they looted our currency, looted our property and took it out abroad. And I have calculated that during the British period, the total amount of loot from India to Britain is $71 trillion. We are talking about $5 trillion. The British have taken away $71 trillion. Kohinoor, for example, adorns the Queen's crown. But do you know where Kohinoor originally came from? It came from Andhrapradesh, in I think near Warangal. Guntur, yes, correct. And I don't know why you are not protesting and saying to the British, give it back, give it to Andhra. You are fighting for all kinds of other things, but not this which will transform your treasury, one to Kohinoor. So There was nothing that we didn't produce. And the world was not producing much at that time. When I was teaching at Harvard, I used to live in a town called Belmont, which is just next to where Harvard is, which is in the city of Cambridge, which is across the river from the city of Boston. And there's a huge lake there in Belmont, and it's called Fresh Pond. And the municipality had put a road on the circumference of the lake, so morning walk was really pleasant to go around it. So in one of my morning walks, I saw a signboard. It says, it was the name of the company, I forget now. Here stood this company which used to export ice to India. 1636. I was amazed. And so therefore I decided to go to Google and look at whether this is there in the search engine. I found that the name of the company was there, and it said indeed that its exports to India from the state of Massachusetts was ice, and they explained why. They said that from that area, Massachusetts, of which one of the premier cities is Boston, ships used to come to India, to Kanchipuram, and buy cloth, spices, so many other goods, and go back. So the king of Kanchipuram called them. There was a Chola king. He called these people one day and said, "How are you doing? Everything fine with you?" They said, "Yes, everything is very nice. People are treating us very well. But we have one complaint." He said, "What's the complaint?" "Our ships have to come empty to India and buy from you and go back. Can you not buy something from us?" So the king said, "Everything is produced in India. Okay, what can I buy from you?" So they said, no, something can be thought of. So the king thought, and then he said, "I have never seen ice in my life. It's there in the Himalayas, but it's so far away. But in your country, I hear in the winter, the ice falls from the sky." He meant snowfall, but he said ice. "So will you bring ice? I will buy ice, because I want to see what ice is like." So in the winter, that lake used to freeze, and they used to put sawdust on it and cut up the lake, put it in their ship and take it all the way to Kanchipuram. The first export from the United States was ice from Massachusetts to India, and see what a change today it is. We can recover all this, but we must know why we, after independence, did not grow fast enough till 1990. It is because Jawaharlal Nehru insisted on adopting the Soviet economic model. And what is the Soviet economic model? Extract resources from agriculture and finance industrial development. And that too, heavy industrial development, steel plants, this, that. It was all right for Soviet Union up to a point, because before communism came to the Soviet Union, the Tsars had brought about an agricultural revolution in Soviet Union, so agriculture had plenty of money. And so Lenin, and mostly after that Stalin, was able to extract those resources and build all these industrial plants. But India was actually sucked dry. The British saw to it that agriculture had no resources. Why? Because in 1857, Britishers found to their horrible surprise that one lady called Rani Jhansi, she led an army against the British. In Karnataka also there was a lady called Rani Chennamma. There are ladies all over, but our history books have forgotten that. And today also ladies in Indian politics are very fierce. Mamata Banerjee, Mayawati, Jayalalitha. I'm talking only of Indian ladies, not Italian ladies. So they were shocked due to a foolishness of one of them who triggered the war out of schedule. Rani Jhansi could not win. But after the defeat, the British established their direct empire in India with Queen Victoria as the Queen of India, and said never again such a revolt should take place. Why? Because Rani Jhansi was financed by the farmers of India. They gave her money, they gave her recruitment, people for recruitment, and so to destroy the backbone of the Indian farming community, they introduced a new system called the Zamindari system, with this variation here and there. And the Zamindari system was entirely of only one job, and that is to collect revenue for the British. But the British said to these zamindars, you can collect as much as you want, but you have to give this fixed amount every year for the British administration in India. So they recruited criminals, and these criminals then went about sucking the agriculture dry. They had the power that if the farmer could not pay, then they could take away the jewels of his wife. If the jewels of the wife had also gone, then they can take over the land of his brother. And there was no law except the Zamindari law. And therefore, by 1947, agriculture had become completely bone dry. There was nothing, poverty and nothing else. And Jawaharlal Nehru, he decided that we'll have Soviet model in our country. Soviet model has not even worked in the Soviet Union. They used to, all these communists, I don't know whether there are any communists left in Hyderabad now. They're all over the country, they're dropping in numbers. Now there's only 1% of the vote or something like that. Yes. So these communists used to tell me that in Soviet Union there is no unemployment, there is no inflation, there is no poverty. Soviet Union is heaven. Well, in 1991, I told one of these communist leaders, EMS Namboodiripad, now there is no Soviet Union also. They broke into 16 pieces. One of them is Kazakhstan. There is no Soviet Union, and that Soviet model is being completely discredited. So in 1990, I came into office. I became the senior most minister, Mr. Chandrasekhar, with 2 portfolios. And we decided that we cannot make progress unless we reform. I prepared the blueprints, but Mr. Chandrasekhar government didn't last very long. And there were elections, and Narasimha Rao, the great son of Warangal. No, he is Warangal. That's why I thought Kohinoor is also from Warangal, because Narasimha Rao is also from Warangal. Narasimha Rao asked me to join his government, but he made a condition, you have to join Congress party, he said. I said, I will not join Congress party. He said, why? I said, because Congress party is owned by the Nehru family and you are just a tenant. Tomorrow they'll kick you out, then what will happen? I cannot take that chance. So I will not join. So he gave me a minister rank position with the charge of the WTO negotiations which are taking place at that time, the new GATT agreement. So Narasimha Rao was the one who implemented the economic reform program. The blueprints were prepared by me. The implementation was done by the Finance Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, and Narasimha Rao gave him the support, because in my presence Manmohan Singh used to cry, saying, "Oh, I'm being abused every day in Parliament, I'm an American agent, I'm this, I'm that, and that I'm giving up socialism." He says, "Blame it on me." He said, "I'm responsible." With that kind of support, Manmohan Singh was able to implement. But the media and all gave credit to Manmohan Singh. Nobody gave credit to Narasimha Rao. If Manmohan Singh was so good, then in 10 years, why didn't he produce any economic reform? As Prime Minister, I've been telling Narendra Modi, if there's anybody who deserves Bharat Ratna, it is Narasimha Rao and nobody else. And I will not rest till that happens. I don't know what is the delay. Between 1947 and 1990, when the Soviet model was there, our growth was only 3.5% per year in GDP. Between 91 and 96, till Narasimha Rao lasted, those 5 years, we went from, that time there was a crisis, so the growth rate had gone to 1%, from 1% to 8% in just 5 years. That's the miracle. What did he do? He empowered the people. He removed in one blow all licenses, one blow all the quotas, gave people the right on the market forces basis to import and export. And we reached this level, and the whole world began accepting that India is now becoming a world global power. After that, 8% we have been achieving it from time to time, but we have not improved on the reforms that Narasimha Rao had brought in. We need to do it now. Your question is, will we be a superpower in economics by 1930? In 10 years? Of course we can. But you need some economic reforms. And those economic reforms have not yet been implemented. When you're looking at a plan for action, you have to look at 4 things. What is your objective? If your goal is superpower in economics in 10 years, what's your objective in terms of economics? Growth rate is an objective. Unemployment removal is an objective. Removal of poverty is another objective. So you can have any number of objectives, but then you must have priority. And that priority, in my opinion, today is that we must grow at least 10% per year. So this is the objective I would put before the government. Target a 10% growth rate. And don't give me all these excuses, nominal growth rate and the GDP correction or estimation. All this is not necessary. By the usual methods adopted by the United Nations, you apply those methods. They are well known. And that, according to that, if the GDP grows for 10% per year for 10 years, India will overtake China and challenge the United States for #1 position in the next 50 years. According to economists, what is the growth rate? How is it found? It is the rate of investment. What does the rate of investment mean? The total savings in the country of the households, of the corporate sector, of the government sector. Of course, government sectors never save anything, they're always losing. But supposing they can save, it's possible. So these 3 sectors, savings, plus what is coming from abroad, added together is what is called as total investment. Divide that by the GDP. That division is called rate of investment. And the rate of investment, as Hanumanji just now pointed out correctly, had reached the level of 37-38%. And that 37-38% fell, and it is now around less than 30, about 29%, little less than 30%. We have to bring it back to 37%. And this 37% should be invested efficiently. If there's corruption in the country, it can't be efficient. But how do you invest it efficiently? Well, certainly fighting corruption becomes a very important part of that. But also to see that those who do work, you reward them. So today I will say, if I want to go from 29% to 37%, the rate of investment, what will I do? I will abolish income tax first of all, because it is the source of all corruption. People ask me, where will the money come for the government? Why does government need money at all? It can print notes. So print notes will be inflationary. Who says that printing notes will be inflationary all the time? Supposing I build a huge highway, 8 lanes, 4 lanes on going, 4 lanes coming, from Delhi to Madras, and from Calcutta to Bombay. It will employ a very large number of people. So what you do is, you print notes. You don't have resources. So you print notes and give it to the workers. The workers will go and spend it. That is demand. Today the problem in the Indian economy is the shortage of demand. People don't have money. People don't have confidence that the money that they are presently got is safe if they spend it, all of it. So therefore, when you put money into the hands of the workers, they will go and spend it, and that means the demand will come. Those who will be selling it, they will start making profit, and then the cycle will start. In 1930, the US economy had a major crash, and it was called the World Depression. And nobody could understand how to rescue the Western countries from this depression. How did this depression come? It came because the US president called all economists of that time, never called more than one economist for advice, because if you call 10 economists, they'll give you 15 views and you will get confused. So just call one person and rely on him. Prime Minister called for 40 economists recently, and he got 42 opinions. So the President of the United States called a large number of economists and said, my elections are coming. There's so much unemployment in the country. And so I must reduce unemployment. Please tell me what is the way. So at that stage of knowledge, which has now vastly expanded in economics, that stage of knowledge, the economists said, what you have to do is that the trade unions have raised the wage rates very much. So nobody is employing. So make the labor cheap so that people will start employing. Companies will start employing. Logically, it seems reasonable. And so he said, they said, you go and talk to the unions and say, till my elections are over, please reduce your wage rate by 10%. And after that, you can raise it again. So the president was impressed. He went and told the trade unions agreed, and the wage rates were brought down 10%. What happened then? Suddenly, unemployment started increasing. And the president was baffled. Factories started closing. The depression started arriving. So he called economists not only from America, he called them from England. One of them was John Maynard Keynes. He said, you must understand, economics is not a bilateral negotiation. Economics is a multilateral operation. You do something here, it will have an effect there. So you reduce the wage rates, therefore the purchasing power of the worker is decreased, therefore the workers bought less, and therefore their demand fell down, and therefore what happened? Factories started closing. If the factories start closing, there will be more unemployment. This is the basic lesson today between the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. I tell the Prime Minister also, you are saying Ujjwala, cylinder gas, startups. These are all microeconomics. What you need is a macroeconomic understanding. How to start the engine of the Indian economy start moving. That is by putting money in the hands of the people. So I said, first of all, abolish income tax. And if you abolish income tax, the rate of savings will go up. The rate of savings go up, then along with whatever you're getting from abroad, that rate of investment will go up. Rate of investment means going up means the growth rate will go up. That is the way to do it. So the objective is 10% growth rate. Then you can raise your level of savings to say 35%, level of investment to 35%. Now this 35% converted into rate of growth, how? You divide it by the efficiency factor, which in economics we call as the capital output ratio. How many rupees of capital you have to invest to generate 1 rupee of product? That capital output ratio in India for the last 10 years has been 5. So 35 divided by 5 means 7% growth rate. If it is 4, then it will be 7.3%, 4% per growth rate. So this is the way to estimate the growth. You want a 10% growth rate, then 37% investment rate, and 3.7 should be your efficiency factor, and not 5 as it is today. If it is 3.7, then you will get 10% growth rate. So how to get that efficiency? Well, as I said, one of them I have mentioned, fight corruption. Another I mentioned, reward people who will invest. Don't terrorize them with income tax. And this GST, which is the biggest madness of the 21st century, this GST is so complicated, nobody understands which form to fill where, and they want it to be uploaded in the computer. Somebody came from Rajasthan, Barmer, and he said, we don't have electricity, how can I upload? So I said, upload it on your head and go to the Prime Minister and tell him. This is the issue. So can we go, we were already reached once 39%, 37% nothing. But efficiency in the use of capital, that should be your objective. And in this, there are, the question that comes down to is, and I'm saying the next step would be the strategy. What should be your strategy? What is our so-called weakness today? Everybody says agriculture is our weakness. Agriculture is not your weakness. It is your strength. But you don't know how to transform it into your strength. Today, the Indian farmer produces output of rice, wheat at the lowest rate in the world. The productivity of land is poor. Why is it poor? No guaranteed water. Oh, there's no water. Well, there's plenty of water. If I think Godavari is 90% going into the ocean, it can be put a canal with Krishna, and then through Rayalaseema you can connect to Kaveri if you like. There's no shortage of water, it is only not being utilized properly. But most of all, we can desalinate seawater. India has a long coastline. Israel has not a single river in their country. Yet every tap in Israel, 24 hours you can get pure water. The Saudi Arabians hate Israel, but quietly they have bought desalination plant from them. They also have 24 hours of water. Same thing with Dubai, no river, but desalination of seawater. In our country also, where it has been experimented, it has produced results. For example, the atomic energy project Kalpakam in Tamil Nadu, the Tamil Nadu government said we can't give you water for your reactors. So they put a desalination plant. The only place in Tamil Nadu where you get water 24 hours a day, pure water, which you can drink from the tap itself, is in Kalpakam for their scientists who are living in their colonies, not anywhere else in Tamil Nadu. Why can't they put about 20 desalination plant? Oh, it will cost a lot. What do you mean cost a lot? According to whom? Not according to atomic energy. Same thing in Jamnagar in Gujarat. It's a bone dry place. When they put up in the Ambanis, Mukesh Ambani put up a oil refinery, the Jamnagar municipality said, we can't give you water. We don't have water. So he brought in a desalination plant, and today the Jamnagar refinery is providing water to the municipality of Jamnagar. When I go to Tamil Nadu, these newspaper people ask me, because I'm a Tamilian, but I'm also, my parents lived in Karnataka, so I'm a Kannadiga, and originally my village is Telugu, by the way, because Tirumala Nayaka brought my ancestors, and they were Telugu kings. So I can trace myself to almost every part of India. One day Modi told me that we Gujaratis are very enterprising. I said, I am also enterprising because my wife is a Gujarati. So I went to Tamil Nadu, and the pressman said, there's a big dispute going on Kaveri. Whose side are you on? You are on Karnataka side or you are on Tamil side? I said, first tell me, you want Kaveri water or you want plain water? If you want plain water, I will put desalination plants all along and give you as much water as you want. In fact, I will pump water, excess water, from in the opposite direction of Kaveri, and it will go all the way to Karnataka and drown them there, if that is the kind of thing you want. There is no problem we have which cannot be solved. Our agricultural has the lower yield per acre. We have the largest arable land in the world, 120 million hectares, but we have the lowest output per acre. And why? Because these farms don't have water, they don't have pesticides, they don't have fertilizer, they don't have good seeds. When we gave 10% of our farmers, that is Lal Bahadur Shastri's time, a package deal of fertilizer, pesticides, water assurance, seeds, it was called Green Revolution. In 1965, everybody thought India will have only nothing but famines. By 1975, we were exporting rice and wheat. That was our situation. And look at this. God has been so kind that 12 months of the year you can do agriculture in India. Can you do 12 months of the year agriculture in the United States? No. 5 months there is snowfall. You can't do agriculture. Europe, the same thing. In China too, this is the same position. Large parts of China can't grow agricultural crops because of this reason. So India, you can grow 3 crops a year. How many are we growing? How much of it we are doing? Only 25% of the land has more than 1 crop. We can grow 3 crops. And the productivity is so high, potential. Agricultural Research Institute pilot plots show that they, in a controlled experiment, that the yield per acre of food grains is 7 times the yield of the average farmer in India. Imagine our getting 7 times more. Milk, We are the largest producer in milk, but we also have 150 million cows. And what is their yield? 200 liters per year. What is the average yield of an Israeli cow? 10,000 liters per year. Now, if I got 150 million cows giving you 10,000 liters per year, I'll be coming swimming to Hyderabad. That much in milk will be produced in our country. This is it. Now we come to the second part. Our population is the youngest population in the world. 26 years is the average age of an Indian. The average age of an American is 37. The average age of a European is 46. Average age of a Japanese is 50. They are all aging populations. Ours is the youngest population. 70% of our population is below the age of 35. And what does economics teach us? It is not more capital, more labor, which produces production, which gives you increased production. It is innovation, new ways of doing things. When you used to go by bullock cart, then the automobile came and the locomotive came. There was a huge step up in production. And then jet engines came, and then fax machines came, and finally the internet. It's completely transformed. So the more innovations you have, the more productivity you will have. Your 5.0 productivity number will come down. If you want it to come down to 3.7, I would say it can come down to 2.5. And you will be getting 14-15% growth rate in our country. So what are those innovations? You want electricity? I will say that India can produce enough electricity for the whole country, as much as people want, plus give our neighbors also. How? By using thorium in nuclear reactors. Homi Bhabha had started that project, how to convert thorium into uranium, which can be used in a reactor. And how much thorium do we have? 60% of the world's thorium is in India, in the sands of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, as monazite. One day I saw a newspaper item, 4 people arrested for smuggling sand out of Tamil Nadu. I said, which crazy fellow will smuggle sand, which is lying there, and which idiot country would import it? I found the United States was importing it. Why? Because Tamil Nadu beaches and the Kerala beaches have monazite, which is thorium, and America has been so far relying on uranium, uranium-238 and 235, and this uranium is exhausting by another 20 years. So they are now refitting their program to have thorium-based reactors. We started it. Homi Bhabha found 3 stages, a 3-stage block. 2 stages he solved. The 3rd stage was about to be solved when America agreed to have a nuclear deal with us, and therefore it led to, and that involved America exporting uranium to India, and therefore Manmohan Singh stopped the research on thorium. And you can use that thorium today. I would say tell the government of India, I've in fact told the government of India already, and investigations have started, that go for thorium. It will produce pollution-less electricity. It will give you complete control over the way in which you will be able to reach it to the consumers. Similarly, we have a problem because we are importing so much crude oil from the Arab countries. Can we find a substitute for that? Of course. It is called hydrogen fuel cells. The Japanese have already solved that problem, and their Toyota car is coming out with hydrogen fuel cells as the battery. That means in the night you plug it in, and in the morning it will be ready for 350 kilometers. And instead of petrol pumps, if you have charging stations, then like every other car it can go. Oil will become obsolete. The Arabs will go back to their tents and their camels after that. All this is available, and you got a young population, educate them well. We are hardly spending 1.5% of our GDP on education. We should open, instead of 400 universities as they claim, we must have 4,000 universities. This was a land, this was a land where people used to come to get education, to Nalanda, to so many other places, because we specialized in knowledge. And today we discover so many things which the West didn't even know. Today yoga has become very popular in the West. And that's why it also become popular in India. White man thinks it is good, it must be good for us also. Sanskrit is soon going to become a language of the future instead of a language of the past. Why? Artificial intelligence. Research shows, and this is there in the Google, research shows that the best way to store knowledge is through the medium of Sanskrit, because in Sanskrit there is no confusion about phonetics. If tomorrow I speak to the computer, if I speak to the computer and I say put, it will put PUT, then I say but, then it will get confused. Because BUT is but and PUT is put. So the computer gets confused. But the Sanskrit, this Devanagari Lipi is so scientific that there can never be any confusion. If you go to Google and type St. James High School or St. John's High School, you will find a news item where the principal of that school it's a all-white school, Englishman's school. And that principal is being interviewed and is asked a question, why is it that you force your students from the ages of 6 to 11 to recite Sanskrit shlokas for half an hour every morning? In Britain, and that principal is not an Indian, is a white Englishman. He says, because I have come to the conclusion from my research that if young children recite from the ages of 6 to 11 Sanskrit shlokas for half an hour every morning, then their brain development is much faster than anybody else's brain development. So what I'm saying is, your strategy should be to go for innovations, empower our young people, make it easy to get education. Tell people that they don't have to pay fees, but when they start earning, they can start returning the money. Not the loan on mortgage or anything like that, which poor people cannot afford. And in our country, many, many poor people have become geniuses. Ramanuja is now considered the biggest genius in mathematics ever so far who has been born in this world. And he came from a very poor family. So I would say that we don't lack any, our objectives are clear. Our priority is first to accelerate our growth rate, and then choose our technology in such a way that it generates employment, then to see that the poor get employment. Agriculture becomes an exporting country because it produces the cheapest products. Our milk is sold at 1/6 the price in Europe. Our wheat is sold at 1/4 the price in America. Export our agricultural products. But then you will have to build airports in every district. You will have to find a way by which this packaging industry, you must set it up in every district so that these things can be exported. And through the internet, you have to educate the farmer on the internet so he can find out where the prices are the best. All these are within your reach. And if you do that, within the 10 years, you would become the most developed country in the world. You will be a challenge to the United States because the United States is entirely driven by innovation. And they are now using Indians. Microsoft, Indian. And then you say Google, Indian. Their surgery, Indian. There are Indians everywhere. Even in defrauding, Indians are there. So, scientifically defrauding, that is. So, I'm saying that we have demonstrated, we have been a developed country of the world for thousands of years. People were coming to our country to find out. For us to become developed again is not a problem. What you need is focus, you need your determination, you need that. I regret to say at the moment I've not been able to persuade the Prime Minister to think like me. But I'm sure because he is a very devoted patriot, when he sees that all the other methods have not worked, I'm sure he will come to the method that I'm suggesting. Don't be ever afraid that this government, this country can collapse. We nearly collapsed in the 1960s when we couldn't produce enough food and we had to beg the Americans. And then Green Revolution came in 10 years. And now we are not importing at all. We don't need to import at all. Then 1990 foreign exchange crisis came. Today we have plenty. The one place where there's plenty of resources today is the foreign exchange surplus we have. Because at that time Narasimha Rao brought this economic change. I have found that in 1962 we got a thrashing from the Chinese, and we have now improved our military to such an extent that we can thrash both Pakistan and China at the same time. So Indians improve only after a crisis. So please pray for a crisis in the economic field also. This country is indestructible. This country has a long history. The UNESCO listed 46 countries, 46 civilizations. The Greek civilization, the Italian, the Roman civilization, the Egyptian civilization, the Mesopotamia, Babylon, all these 46. And what did they find? 45 have disappeared. Only one is still continuing, the Hindu civilization of India. India is a continuing civilization. And if people came to this country without the intention to attack us, we have been most hospitable. Look at the Parsis in our country. Does anybody grudge them anything? They are in every place. The Chief Justice was a Parsi, Commander-in-Chief Manek Shah was a Parsi, the Fali Major, there was the Air Force Chief, our Attorney General Soli Sarabji. We have Parsis everywhere. But nobody says anything to them. Because they came here in peace, they wanted sanctuary, because their country, Iran, was overrun by the Islamic forces, so they came for protection. The Jews, they were persecuted everywhere, brutally. But they came to India. We built them their synagogues in Cochin and in Bombay. And when Israel was formed, many of the Jews went back. But the Israeli parliament passed, after adopting its constitution, passed its first resolution. And it was said what? Thank you, India, the only country where the Jews were not persecuted. Our Hindu religion does not deny other religions. It says all religions lead to God. Is there any other religion in the world which says that? By Hindu, I include, of course, Buddhist. If you go to our constitution and read Article 25, it defines Hindu. Hindu is someone who is not a Muslim or a Christian. I didn't define it. It's the founding fathers who defined it. So, because Buddhists say the same thing, of course, in a different format, the Sikhs say the same thing, and the Jains say the same thing, and therefore we consider them as a part of the Hindu. Because the Hindus also have Sanatana Dharma, we have Arya Samaj, we have so many schools. We don't have one God, we don't have one masjid or one like Makkah or Vatican. We have numerous temples. Temples are coming even in your backyards. So this country is for heterogeneity in terms of beliefs. We respect it. That's why we have continued as a democracy, and we have continued as democracy not because of our education. In 1977, when Mrs. Gandhi declared the elections, I was that time escaped the second time and gone to America to campaign. And everybody told me at Harvard University, don't go back. Why? He says, democracy is for only well-to-do people who are stomachs are full. But your country is so much poverty. How can you expect Mrs. Gandhi to lose the election? I said, still I'll fight the election. So I went back. And when the results come out, I was shocked. The most educated part of India, which is Andhra, undivided, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, all voted for Indira Gandhi and the emergency. And the most uneducated part of India and the poorest part of India, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, etc., they all voted against Congress. They even defeated Indira Gandhi in UP. How do you explain this? This is because if you don't allow Western education to dominate your thinking about what our ancient civilization has taught us, you will be a Democrat. All religions lead to God. That's the most democratic thing you can say. So therefore, have that faith that this country is indestructible, but in order for us to become a developed country, know our strengths and apply your mind in a holistic way, not in terms of one sector, another sector, but in a holistic way. This country will definitely, and I believe that stage has now come, when after seeing the last 1 year of economic crisis, the mind has been made up, we have to do something radical. I am 100% certain that by 2030, we will be the most developed country in the world, challenging the United States. Thank you very much.